Everybody wave. Everybody wave. Right now we're going live on Tested on Humans. We'll do a little bit of introductions here. My name is Kelvin Ma. I'm the content manager for Human Proof Designs. We've got Dom here on my right in the yellow shirt with his favorite shirt. Dom's the CEO, if you don't know that, Dom Wells. And we also have Alex here on my left-hand side. Alex handles he handles a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff with the ads and also with the portfolio of sites that we also manage as well. And then we also have Kevin here on the far left there. Wave, Kevin. Kevin's from episode 16, if you remember episode 16. We'll put a link in the show notes. And he's from Bulk Buy Hosting. Bulk Buy Hosting specializes in PBN hosting, and he himself has about how many websites do you have?
So I've got like 50 affiliate sites at the moment and about 350, 400 PBNs of my own to help rank those sites. So once you start hitting those sort of scales, you've got to build out solutions to make that work. And that's why I built my stuff out. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, that's why we brought him on as a guest, because of that's a lot of knowledge. But yeah, so why don't we get started with kind of the theme that we've been going through for the month of June here, and it's keyword research month basically. So the first topic I think we should talk about is where keyword research fits in the whole affiliate site journey. I'll kind of go over that and kind of get some input from the other guys here. So with me, keyword research is the most foundational part, right? We're looking at that at the very beginning when we're trying to assess whether a niche is good for us to enter in, and then also it's going to come in throughout the entire process too, right? It's nice to do sprints of keyword research. So at the very beginning, trying to see if this is the right niche, and then when you're kind of forming the content, putting in primary keywords, figuring out secondary keywords to put into your content, and then afterwards even too, right? So once you publish the content, you need to assess how it's ranking and everything, and then that might also require some keyword research as well. And then when you're building out even more content, that's where keyword research comes in too. So it's all across the land. It's not just it's very important at the very beginning, but it's just as important throughout the process too. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to that?
So you kind of touched upon it already, but I mean, I would say keyword research evolves depending on the state that your site is in. And at the beginning, the keyword research you're going to do at the beginning is going to be very much based on niche validation. Like, is this a niche that anyone is interested in, and am I going to be able to rank a site there? But then if your site's 2 years old and it's an authority site, you're really not going to care as much about competition strength because you're the competition. So, you're the strong sites that people are going to see and think, oh, I can't enter this niche. So you might go for keywords that you disregarded 2 years ago. Or you may move out into kind of sub-niches or like parallel verticals that before looked too competitive, but now not only are they less competitive because you've got more authority, but you also probably have an audience who's going to read that content anyway. So, so it's like an evolutionary process. So how you do it is going to change based on where you are and where your site is. Does anyone else want to add anything, or should we move on?
Very cool. So yeah, that has a lot to do with how your your domain rating is increasing, and also your domain authority, and how that all correlates in with your strength as a website to basically push other people out of the SERPs by using the power of your website. All right, let's move into, so Troy asked us a question about some keyword tools. His question was, which one was the most accurate out of them? And we've kind of done that before. We've gone through a bit of a case study on the blog about, we tested a whole bunch of, we released a bunch of different articles on a few of our sites, and we tried to make that as as comparable as possible. And then just by using keyword difficulty as the measurement for that, and then we let them go see how they ranked and all that. So we're going to go over the tools because I think tools are they're very important for keyword research. And the tools that we probably use the most, I would say, is Ahrefs, Keyword Finder, SEMrush, Keywords Everywhere. Keywords Everywhere is a tool that it's a free plugin that you go add it into your Google Chrome plugins, and then it'll give you some search volume. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it's a good baseline to work from. And then we've got Longtail Pro, which is a product from Spencer Hawes. It's been around for a while, but we don't use it as much anymore. And in the keyword difficulty test that we ran, Ahrefs came out #1 and Keyword Finder came out #2. It's a small test. We could definitely do a lot more testing on that, but that's what we found to be the most accurate keyword difficulty tools, at least. And then there's also SERPWoo, which Kevin had mentioned earlier. I think Kevin could probably talk a lot more about this tool because I personally don't know too much about it. But yeah, so I'm going to pass the mic over to him.
Okay, yeah, so Superboy is another keyword tool. It's kind of what I use at the foundational level of my keyword research, where similar to how these guys use Ahrefs as their starter, I use Superboy as my starter, and it's the same sort of thing that you can go through. You'll enter a seed keyword, so like podcasting microphone, and it can then throw out all the more rankable terms. So, best podcasting microphone reviews, all those sort of ones. And then from there, I'll personally take that, throw it through SEMrush and look for, the full range of keywords that I can find that other affiliate sites are ranking for, just to bulk out that keyword research in the quickest way possible.
Nice. I guess to kind of cap it off with this keyword research, keyword tool area of the conversation here, I think Ahrefs is kind of your all-round broad tool. It's not the cheapest tool by any means, but it can be your only tool. But again, it's very expensive. Keyword Finder is less expensive, but it came out second as our most accurate. It's got a great interface to it. It's accurate, and it's got it can spit out. I would say it's fairly limited in terms of the seed keywords that you're going to get from it. But I guess it depends on what plan that you have. You can pay for more keywords to come out of it. And then SEMrush we would use for analyzing competitors mostly, I'd say, right? That's generally what we would use it for. We don't use it for the keyword difficulty tool as much, but so we use it for extracting and plugging in forums or other competitor websites that we have and seeing what keywords that they rank for. That's what we use SEMrush for. And then Keywords Everywhere, again, is just like a daily tool for us to assess while we're searching around, doing just typing stuff into google.com. And then Longtail Pro is a tool with plenty of keywords. You just plug in just a few keywords and it'll give you thousands and thousands of other keywords. And we found that it didn't score that well for us personally in the keyword difficulty test, but nonetheless, it's been around for quite a while, so it's still something you might want to check out. And then what Kevin mentioned is SERPWoo. That's SERPWOO.
Quick note on SEMrush is I use it mainly to reverse competitors. So when you put in a list of, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 keywords that meet your criteria, your filters, best for more than 50 searches, stuff like that, right? Because if you're reversing a competitor with 200,000 keywords, you need to do some filtering. And when I start doing what I call phase 2 research, I'm not going to look at 2,000 keywords. So I order them by difficulty, and anything below a 55, 60, even though SEMrush might not be picking a lot of links and other things, if it's below, like in a really low competition score in SEMrush, I start looking for those, because they typically will pass the manual round when I'm analyzing competitors. So even though it's not the most, excusez-moi, almost blew the wire, even though it's not the most accurate, in terms of low competition, it tends to be very accurate. So if it says it's really easy, it tends to be really easy. So you can trust that one, and use it on early stages of the keyword research.
Yeah, I was just going to add that with keyword difficulty scores, even though, I mean, to contradict slightly what you just said, even though, for example, with Ahrefs, if something says its keyword difficulty is 1 or 2, which means it's very easy, that's not guaranteed to be the case. But if it says it's 60 or 50 or 70, then it's very rare that it's not a difficult keyword. So yeah, you can use keyword difficulty scores to tell you which keywords to not pay attention to. And then you kind of have to do manual research to manual analysis to actually kind of confirm whether or not they're easy. And also with Ahrefs, most people think of Ahrefs mostly as a backlink checker, but the reason we use it so much now for keyword research is because they use, pretty much every keyword tool just scrapes Google Keyword Planner for search volumes, and then they have their own metrics for other stuff. But Ahrefs and Moz are the only ones that I think use clickstream data, which is also where, when you download Chrome or various other apps and you say, I agree, well, what those apps are asking is to track your searching. And probably only 20% of a Google search on the internet is done by someone who's having that search tracked via clickstream data. But Ahrefs, the reason they're so expensive is because they're buying clickstream data and they're using that to increase the accuracy. So again, like, it's still an estimate and it's still based on a small subsection of the internet, but everyone's making a guess and they're making a slightly more educated guess. So that's one reason I trust them over other tools as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a good summary to put it all together, right? These tools are just, at the end of the day, they're just estimates. I mean, even Google only provides estimates or a range for us to look at in general, right? So, and another thing to keep in mind is that the keyword tools, they all have, in terms of the keyword difficulty, they're the scale of which because if they're all 0 out of 100, it's all very different, right? So like for Ahrefs, it's they say focus on keywords that are low competition, and low competition for them means 0 to 10. Whereas Keyword Finder, I believe, is about 0 to 30, maybe even a little bit less, maybe 28 or something like that. But that's generally the range. So you just got to keep that in mind. If whatever tool that you're using, just inspect what they're recommending. So they're all very, very different. They're all trying to take their own holistic view of what is important for ranking websites. So let's put a cap on the keyword research tools. Let's go into some let's go into some different topics that I think might be highly, some topics that you guys have seen around. Maybe you're not sure what they mean, but let's just go into them and kind of go from there. So the first topic is LSI keywords. So we hear that term quite a bit. It stands for latent semantic index. So what is LSI? What is LSI? What are LSI keywords?
So the way topics group themselves, say we're talking about whiteboards, because I have one right in front of me. If you're doing keyword research for a site on office equipment, right? Whiteboards, and you're talking about whiteboards as a product, you want to include all those keywords that convey the broader aspects of office equipment. And perhaps if it's more, your site is more on the teaching side of things, right? So you're using whiteboards to make explainer videos. you want to include all the keywords that live surrounding the topic on the particular angle that you're going to attack. So, and the classical example is cars. So cars is what? The vehicle of the movie, right? If you're not including all the other keywords that convey similar meaning for the particular use of the word, say you're talking about the movie, if you're not talking about Pixar, I think it was Pixar, might be wrong, you're talking about Pixar and Disney and animation and stuff, right? Then Google matches both keywords and say, oh, all right, he's talking about this thing in particular. And for instance, when you say nutrition and diet, if you only say diet, it's like a 3-year-old vocabulary, and you'll start including all the other keywords that live very close to the particular, to the particular meaning that you want to cover, a particular topic you want to cover. That is the LSI, right? Keywords that carry a very similar meaning, or they live very close together on the topic for the particular angle you want to talk about. Words mean many things, not necessarily the same, right?
Yeah, no, that was good. I like that cars example. I guess to add to that, yeah, when you have LSI keywords, I don't really like that term LSI. I prefer just thinking of them as related keywords. You know, so I think there's 2 reasons you need them. One is to give context to what you're saying, because if one person has an article that just has one keyword 10 times and another person uses that keyword once, but they use all the other relevant keywords, Google's going to see that as a better resource. So I remember when I first had an article and I wanted to touch up the on-page SEO, I went into Wikipedia for that topic and I found all of these words that I hadn't used in my article, so I went in and sprinkled them in. And I think it helps Google to just think of you as a resource, as a good resource. But then on top of that as well, the beauty of it is you're going to rank for more keywords as a result of doing that as well. So yeah, it's just like, I think Google added it in to combat how, I don't know if anyone remembers, but back in say 2002 or 2003, if you Googled something, you just found a website that wasn't really relevant, but they had just spammed that keyword all over their page, especially if you were looking for stuff like, you know, watch Breaking Bad online or something. Not that I was trying to do that, but you just find it and it's not relevant at all, really, the web pages you find. Whereas now you need to show Google or Google's algorithm, you need to show it, my article's about this and it's a really good resource.
It's not working. Yeah, so that's LSI keywords right there. And another topic that I think we should cover that Matt Diggity talks a lot about, I think it's like his arch rival at this moment, is keyword cannibalization. That's that's a topic we hear a lot about. And so the question is, what is keyword cannibalization? How can we reduce it, and what can we do to get over it?
So I'm basically going to stand in here as the Matt Diggity stunt double, body double here. So hi Matt, if you're watching. Basically, keyword cannibalization is when we end up with one of your pages that you're trying to rank basically losing out to one of your other pages because Google's algorithm's unable to determine which one of these 2 pages is the most relevant for that topic. And as a result, it just throws both of them way down to, let's say, 60th, 100th position, because it can't tell which one should actually be the ranking page for that keyword. Now, the easiest way to fix that is a bit of on-site work, where you look at both of these pages that are very similar, and you try and determine, well, can I de-optimize one of them so that then the other one, or so that then both of them will rank, or do I need to take the content from both of these pages and combine it into one larger, better resource that then allows both of those keywords to rank. And typically it's when you've got very closely related things which probably shouldn't be two separate pages on your site, and you've decided to split them out into two separate pages. So way back, 3, 4, 5 years ago, if you were trying to rank a site on whiteboards, you could have one page completely just solely dedicated to best whiteboards and have that really optimized for that variant of the keyword. And you could have another one that was whiteboard reviews and have it very highly optimized for that. Whereas now both of them, Google understands best and reviews and top rated and all those sort of keywords are all very much in the same vein. And so then you end up with that cannibalization happening where it can't determine which one of those two pages should be ranked. The other spot where I've seen it a bunch in some of my own sites has been when you've added the modifiers in. So best whiteboard for classrooms or best whiteboards for a boardroom. Those sort of ones, again, used to be okay on their own pages. Now you want them all rolled up in the same page. And it can go even further where two items which you don't necessarily think yourself should be related can be as well and can have that same cannibalization effect. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I would just add on to that I don't think keyword cannibalization is something people need to fear too much. It is definitely a big problem, but it's also quite an easy fix. So, sometimes and I think someone else asked a question related to this, so now's a good time to answer it. But sometimes people think, okay, should I do these keywords as two separate posts or should I do them as one? And I normally do two things, or one of two things. The first is I Google both those keywords. And is Google showing kind of the same 10 posts ranking for both those keywords? In which case I'll do one article. Or is it it's showing completely different articles, in which case it's probably fine to do different. But then another thing I'll do is I might just say, I'll just do two articles. And if it does look like there's a cannibalization issue later, then yeah, you can just do what Kevin said and just de-optimize one or merge them into two posts. Maybe you can send some more internal links with partial match anchors to one of them to kind of try and say to Google, like, this is the one that should be, the one that should be ranking. So yeah, it's a problem. It's something you need to analyze in your existing rankings, but it's one of the most quickly fixable things. I mean, we did it with one of our sites and we saw we had a big cannibalization issue, I think between 3 posts, and I think we merged them all into one post, and we saw within like 5 days or 6 days that there was a positive result. So it's not a huge worry.
And it's cheap.
It's easy fix as well and cheap.
Right. So if you guys didn't hear that, it's a cheap and easy fix. It's something that is constantly going on, so it's something you got to reassess basically, which is why you would use a rank tracker to see what's going on, right? You might see 2 keywords that just that are very similar, and you can't break through on the first page, so you got to dig into those. You got to dig further into those. So another topic that I think is important would be manual keyword research, right? So we talk a lot about manual keyword research, and I think that it may not always be clear what that means, what it is. So what is manual keyword research?
I think it's your turn.
Sure. Okay. So, sure. Manual keyword research is when you are, you're doing your keyword research in the tools, you're using the software and stuff like that. And as we mentioned, it's all about the viewpoint of these software developers and also the creators of this software, and how they feel that the tool should be used to help them rank, right? So regardless of whatever tool that you use, you should be analyzing your keywords manually, right? So instead of just exporting a bunch of keywords that are in Ahrefs and looking at any keyword difficulty that's under 10 and then filtering by best or whatever filter that you want to apply there, you want to still go onto Google, Preferably, google.com if you're aiming for google.com as your main search engine for your articles, then you want to hop onto a VPN if you're not in Google, or if you're not in the States or anything like that, and really look at how the web page looks from the user's perspective, right? Because there's a lot of things that you can. The problem that we have is sometimes we're a little too dependent on the tools, so we never actually go into Google and see how it looks like from the viewpoint of someone who's actually searching for the term, right? So how do the titles look for those top 10 articles on that first page? How does the meta description look like? Are there any featured snippets? What kind of stuff is on the page that you're competing against, basically, right? And then so far as even going and looking at how those articles come up on the when you open each one of them. If you open all 10 of them, how does it look? How does it load? What's the information inside of there? Just to get a good perspective of what somebody's viewing, and then so that you can take the humanistic way of whether or not you should go for this keyword, right? Sometimes you might be competing with some sites that are very strong, or maybe some of the content is very, very long. So you need to know, how long your content should be as well. And yeah, that's to me, in a nutshell, what manual keyword research is.
Yeah, I can add some as well. I think there's also one of the biggest mistakes a lot of beginners make with keyword research is not putting the keyword into context. So when you're just looking in a keyword tool, you might find a keyword and the tool says it's an easy keyword. And I'll talk in a sec about why tools actually can't always tell whether it's an easy keyword, but you need to actually Google that keyword to see what sites are ranking for it, and not just to look, do what Kelvin just said, but also, a lot of the time it's an e-commerce keyword where, you're trying to rank an affiliate review, and all of the posts that are ranking are e-commerce stores that physically sell that product. It's going to be very hard for you to rank an affiliate site in there. Or, I can't remember the product, but I was searching for a company name plus review keyword a few days ago. And, let's say it was Gillette review or something like that. And then when I actually Googled the keyword, the listings were not reviews of people who were reviewing the product. It was things like Glassdoor.com. It was people who work for that company, and they were reviewing what it's like to work for that company. And there's some other examples that I've seen as well. So you might think a keyword's great, and then you actually look at it and you think, well, Google's not, people aren't actually searching for what I thought they were searching for, or Google doesn't want to show the kind of article I want to write. And then, you've also got the obvious problems where a lot of people hide their links from backlink checkers like Ahrefs. So Ahrefs might say, oh, this is a really easy keyword because none of the sites on page one have backlinks, but they've got backlinks. Ahrefs just can't see them. So that's quite problematic. And with that, there are a few things you can do to determine the strength of the page of the site. Obviously, you can go with gut instinct, like, does this look like a strong site? Does it look like it was built and abandoned 5 years ago, or does it have 50 comments on every post? And you can also put those sites into Ahrefs or SEMrush, see what else they rank for. Like, are they ranking number one for pretty much every keyword in the niche? Then they're a strong site. You don't need to see how many backlinks they've got. Or is this the only keyword they're ranking number one for, and everything else they rank number 10 for? Then probably the one they're ranking number one for is an easier keyword because they're not a strong site. So you can do stuff like that as well. I think I covered most of it without talking for an hour more on the topic. Do you want to add anything?
To give more examples of why you should always check your keywords, especially if you're going to pay for content, because what's the point of investing money in content if you're not going to get anything back from it, right? A typical keyword that will drive you zero traffic, even if you rank number one for it, is a simple search query in which there is an existing feature snippet, and on the snippet, on the 3-4 lines, you get all the info. the CTR for that position 0 is going to be extremely low. So it might be an easy keyword, but what is the point? The user already has the answer right on the SERP, so you wouldn't even get the visit. And if that's already like that, sorry, so if a competitor is already got the feature snippets and the visitor's already got his answer, you might rank number 2 because it's dead easy, but you will get 0 traffic. So, you know, not the best thing to do. So always check it. Another instance, and he was talking about reviews and e-commerce that rank for reviews, or they might be actually reviewing the brand as an employer or as something else, right? And I found that quite recently. I was researching some beauty products, right? And there was a keyword that great search volume, a very expensive product. I'm like, this looks sweet. And I did the manual check, and the site ranking number 1 was a quite ugly looking site, and it's not like the rest, like top 3, top 5 were looking any better. I look at the site, and the review is all right, you know, like I can beat this with design, you know, links, etc. I look at the comments, and they have 5,700 comments, and the earliest ones were from 2010. This page has been ranking for the last 8 years. It's got, but you look at the content and review is might be like 900 words, but then in comments there's another 25,000 words. So I won't beat this with my review because he has 700 user reviews over the course of 8 years. You won't win, and unless you're looking at those specific things, you might, you know, get into a trap paying a really good copywriter $100, $150 for a review, and you won't get any of your money back. So you gotta keep it smart on that way.
Another point might be with to maybe cap manual keyword research is that in the keyword tools that you're using, it's just a snapshot in time, right? So it's whenever the crawler has come and looked at that specific keyword and stored it into their tool. So that's the reason why you got to check that stuff, because it's some keywords can be quite volatile, right? Like keywords that have a lot to do with news per se, you know, there's a lot of those types of articles shift around quite a bit, right? So that keyword estimate or the keyword difficulty estimate that you're getting from the tool is just a snapshot. So when you're looking at it, you have to assess and really think about, you know, whether it's worth, what kind of value, what kind of ROI you're going to get out of producing some content that's going to attack that keyword. All right, so that's the end of keyword manual keyword research. I thought that was great actually. The next topic, which I'm not even sure if we have any tips, but I wanted to go over some timeless tips that anyone wants to share over keyword research. Is there anything that stood out here?
Sure. Like one of the other things, just still slightly related to the manual keyword research, but is one of those timeless 80-20 simple tips to keep in mind, is all the data that you see for any of those keyword in terms of keyword volume or search volume is all historic data. So if you were looking, let's say, at like Pokemon Go related keywords at the time when that game was really hot, you would see very little search volume for all those keywords. But in actuality, if you were ranking for one of them, you'd just see, you know, traffic going up and to the right. So if you're looking at, say, whatever this Christmas's hot toy is going to be, then you're probably going to see very low search volume, but you could very easily, you know, rank a site for one of those keywords and get a ton of traffic, a ton of affiliate commissions. Equally, that can hurt you in the reverse as well, in like a niche or, you know, trend thing that's on the decline. So again, so Pokemon Go is your example. You might see a bunch of search volume for Pokemon Go related keywords and see, you know, 20 products on Amazon that you could send affiliate links to, you know, to help people with going out and doing their Pokemon Go catching, you know, like batteries for their cell phones and that sort of stuff. But if you actually started to look at the traffic for those keywords once you've ranked a site, you'd see it was just going down because it's a less popular trend. It's the declining trend. So always just try and, where you can, ideally look for those evergreen niches. So like the whiteboards for the conference room, they're always going to be a thing. Otherwise, if you're looking at trends and fad sort of keywords, just keep in mind where we're at in that cycle. And sometimes you can use the data from Google Trends, which is updated month by month, rather than the keyword volumes, to just help you get that sort of feel. And the other part in that as well is even with those timeless ones, you'll see like annual cycles of when, for a lot of keywords, when are hot and cold for those things. So like we're right now in Berlin, it's the middle of summer. So if you're looking at, say, the fan that we've got over there that's slightly keeping this room cool, you'll see a fan will be a summer keyword, and like during the winter, there'll be very little volume for that. And so you just need to keep that in mind as well as you're doing your keyword research, that you can go look at Google Trends and see how that sits over a year. And with some keywords, there can be huge spikes at one part of the year where it's like a very heavily gifted item. You'll just see it spike up in like November and December as people get ready to get that item for Christmas or for Valentine's Day or whatever. So using that as you're doing your keyword research is like a nice little handy tip to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the clear evidence of that with date-related keywords as well. Like right now, if you look in Ahrefs or any of those tools, probably anything with 2017 in it has a higher search volume than 2018, but it doesn't. It's just Ahrefs uses a 30-month average. So 30 months, that's 2.5 years. And it makes sense that they do that. But for certain things, you have to kind of just use your brain. Like, we started a niche site at the end of last year. It said it wasn't really, the keywords we were ranking for, it said they didn't even exist or they got 0 search volume, but we were getting like 30,000 views a month for those keywords because we knew people were searching for them. But I guess another tip for that is you can use tools like answerthepublic.com, which tell you things people are searching for, or you can use things like Quora to find out things that people are searching for where maybe they're so new that keyword tools haven't picked them up yet. But if people are searching for them in Quora, they're going to be searching for them in Google. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that tip rather than adding another tip. Does anyone else have a fresher tip?
Yeah, it's not all that fresh, but it's something that we always talk about on the blog. Should you go for your passion or should you go for the money? And I think when you understand a niche, when you have some sort of interest in the niche, you can tell by just looking at a keyword what's going to be happening. What you're going to find on the SERPs, who's going to rank for them, and whether the search volume is off or not. And you can also tell whether the content that's ranking for the keyword is crap or is actually the good stuff. Because if it's the good stuff, you might actually not outrank them because they're really helping the user. And there might even not be a need for you to create more content, especially on things like, on the evergreen niches. Like, I don't know, how much should be a mortgage be? That question has been answered a gazillion times. So do you need to create another post on how to poach an egg and do 1,000 words on it? You really don't, right? So when you understand the niche, it's very easy to know, that search volume is off, right? If you don't, then you need to do more trends research and look for forums and stuff and get acquainted with that knowledge.
So I guess before we go on to some questions that people from our private Facebook group for the Human Proof Method have asked, and also on our public Facebook group, Niche Site Entrepreneurs, I think that the keyword research is very much an art, right? So the more you are involved with your niche, you can really use your intuition to your advantage, and then using your advantage, you're going to get way lower competition keywords that are not even going to be able to be found on the from the keyword tools. So just keep that in mind. Let's go into the questions here, and Paulette had asked, how do you know when a zero search term is really zero? So how do you know the volume of the keyword is really zero? Another related question is what's the biggest difference you've seen between search volume to actual traffic? Yeah, that's the first question from Paulette.
That one. Paulette, you don't. Unless if you really understand the niche, you can tell, yeah, this is impossible that this gets zero searches. And bear in mind, like we've said with the keyword tools, that they don't pick the entire internet. And the really long tail searches like might get that particular way of framing the question, might get like 10 searches, 15 searches, but it hasn't really even been indexed. However, there's a bajillion variations of making the same question. And that's something that we were chatting with Kevin before we started the live, like, and it ties with the KeyGR thing. I'll give you an example, right? A keyword I was targeting, it's got like 100 searches a month. And just yesterday I was looking at the traffic, and that particular page on the last 30 days had 1,500 views. And it's got 0 links pointing to it because it's a KeyGR thing. That's the whole point, right? So it's over 10 to 15 times as much traffic as the keyword was telling me that I would get. So yeah, that's a big difference right in there. So imagine if all these 10 searches or 5 searches, like 0 technically searches, actually get you 100 visits, 200 visits, 300 visits of really targeted traffic. It's a lot, really compounds.
Yeah, so generally, if something is showing up as 0 searches in a keyword tool, like you say, that's probably because it's really long tail, which means if you rank for that, you're going to rank for a ton of other long tails as well. So like in your example, the reason you got 1,500 visits a month to a 100 search volume keyword was because you were probably ranking for about several dozen keywords. And so I guess you have to consider what is the actual keyword? How many different ways could people search for this? Like, for example, squeeze page is an example Tim Suolo from Ahrefs used. Squeeze page gets, say, 2,000 searches a month or 40,000 searches a month, I don't know. But how to get website signups has way fewer searches, but it will probably get more traffic because there's way more ways of typing that in, whereas squeeze page, you can only really type squeeze page one way. So there's that to consider as well. So yeah, you don't really ever have a way of knowing if something is really a 0 volume keyword, but you can kind of use intuition. Like, do you really believe no one's searching for this? And also, if it shows up in Google Instant, like, you know, when you start typing a keyword and Google kind of suggests it as you're typing it, and you can use tools like Uber Suggest or whatever Neil Patel's calling it now, or other things that do scrape that. But if they're showing up as like related searches in Google, then someone's searching for it. And then the other question was, have we seen much difference between search volume and actual traffic? We've talked about that a bit, but it's impossible to really know because, again, you never rank for just one keyword. So if you rank number 1 for a keyword, I think the example I've used a lot was in one of my shaving sites in the past. I ranked number 1 for like straight razor versus safety razor, and it said it got 500 searches a month, and I got 4,000 visits a month to that page, but I ranked for about 250 different keywords. So how, you know, maybe that one really did only get 500 searches, but I ranked for so many others. So there's no real way to know, but generally the real traffic is most likely going to be higher because you're going to rank for multiple keywords, unless it's a declining niche. Like, if you rank for DVD player, you're probably not going to get as much as the historical data says, or like if something's trending down, or if it's Pokemon Go or something like that. So yeah, I guess it's just that, like we've talked about, it's an art and it's an ongoing practice. So you just have to develop that ability to figure it out.
And again, like just going back to from the previous stuff, like go and use the Google Trends tool. It's completely free. I think that it's at google.com/trends, and you can go in there, type in your keyword, and you can see that graph across time. I believe if you open it up to the longest length of history, it takes you like all the way back to when they first started, recording people's Google searches in their databases to start to build up the data that they used for the Google AdWords tool. So you can see that, like, I believe all the way back to like 96 or 98 or whatever, which is always, kind of fun to see that ramp up generally, in a lot of niches ramp up over time as more and more people have got online and become comfortable with buying stuff online to, go out searching those reviews.
Awesome. So another question that I think is pretty good here. So with the recent notifications that Google's been sending around, telling people that they're going to be switching to a mobile first index. So that means that basically that searches on mobile are going to be the primary the primary search results that we should be technically basing our search results on. So how does this affect your keyword research process? I'll start first, I guess. Since I get to see the questions before you guys. So I think one thing that we can do not to combat it, but to actually go along with what Google's doing, is that to go back to manual keyword research, right? So not only are we going to be looking at not only should you be looking at your stuff on your desktop, but if they're going to be going mobile first, then we should definitely be checking out how the rankings look, how the keywords look on your mobile first, right? So that's going onto your mobile phone and manually seeing how the results look on that end.
Something that I want to add, and it ties up with the whole manual research thing that we were talking about, with the queries that get a direct answer on the feature box. If you search for like, how tall is Shaquille O'Neal, right? You will get the answer straight away in a box. And whoever website is Google pulling this information from is not going to get any traffic. And that probably gets a lot of search volume, right? And we've seen a progressive evolution of the SERPs in the way that they serve information to directly satisfy the user, ideally straight on the results page. So if your entire site focuses on very, let's say, extremely simple queries like, how tall are all this bunch of famous people, right? Or conversions, like how much is an inch. You don't need to visit a website for that, right? Even now, Google is pulling a lot of information on how to go, let's say, from Fort Lauderdale to Miami. You will get all that information straight on the SERP. So I think the simple it is to answer a query, over time, for the mobile experience that Google is aiming to offer, you will get less traffic because it's going to be served directly on the results page. So that's something to bear in mind. Like, can a robot or can Alexa, let's say, or Google Home answer this in a sentence? Hey Google, how tall is Shaquille O'Neal? Is this tall? That's it. You're not going to get any traffic, right? So that's how things are moving forward. Also with voice search. So it's something to keep in mind. Like, can a 5-year-old answer this, right? If it can do, maybe you shouldn't build a page for that. Or if you do, bear in mind that it's gonna die off at some point. But that's just how I look at it. Might be completely wrong, eh?
Yeah, and I guess like just building on the manual keyword researching on your mobile device, the other thing again is when you start clicking through to those sites, have a look at how that experience is on the mobile, because the biggest shift with this shift to mobile first indexing is really about the Google bot, instead of rendering your website using a desktop version of the browser and reviewing how that all looks, it's rendering it now with a mobile version of a browser and reviewing how that looks. So, you know, if your product comparison charts aren't responsive and, you know, just have a really janky experience on mobile, then maybe you need to go in and make them more mobile responsive to help bring your site back up. Or maybe you need to review the way in which you're aligning out those tables or presenting that information, because it doesn't necessarily even have to be a table, to make it look better on mobile, which will then basically give you that edge against the people who were building affiliate sites 2014 style versus, you know, with a mobile first mindset. So like for my own affiliate portfolio, we just built out a new website, which is the first one from our fourth portfolio, fourth silo, and that one's been built extremely differently than the rest of our previous stuff, with a huge eye and focus on how does this look and feel on a mobile device. So I would build it on the desktop and then aim for it to look good on desktop, but then from there, at the end of building every single page, I then pulled out my iPhone, I'm scrolling through it. I've pulled out like an old iPhone 5 and scrolling through it on that, just to try and see, well, you know, sure, like I've got the iPhone 10, so it's got a much bigger screen. How's it look on the tiny little iPhone 5 that I've got? Okay, it's still reasonable. And, you know, a lot of people have older phones. And so you want to make sure that the mobile experience of visiting your affiliate site is still a good and usable experience, because that's basically where we're seeing more and more the traffic to our affiliate sites, and Google seeing with all of their search queries as well. There's more and more focus to, or coming from people just sitting there on the couch on, you know, Tuesday night watching Breaking Bad, and, you know, multitasking with like trying to buy a whiteboard for their office at the same time. So get your mobile experience looking good, test your sites on mobile. And again, like, you know, some of those elements like tables and stuff might need to be tweaked to make them look right.
Yeah, so I guess mobile first indexing is probably less of a keyword research issue, and it's more of a UX and a content issue. But yeah, there are clearly opportunities with manual research as well, because going back to the example that Alex mentioned earlier, where he said if there's a site who maybe he hasn't got a very good review, but there are 50,000 comments on there, and maybe there's a ton of backlinks, and you think there's no way I'm going to beat them. But if they've got a bad mobile experience and everyone else on page one has a bad mobile experience, and you can put together something with a good mobile experience, that's, you know, that's the competitive advantage you've got. So for the next year or two, you may be able to crack these niches, and you're not only going to crack them on mobile, because that's the thing about mobile first. It's not saying, oh, if you've got a good mobile experience but someone else doesn't, you'll rank well on mobile, but they'll rank well on desktop. It's now Google saying, if you rank well on mobile, or sorry, if your site is good on mobile, we're going to use that for desktop results as well. So they've gone full mobile in terms of their, like, how they first render it when they're determining if it's good. And of course, you're still going to have things like links and all of that still going to matter. But in terms of the content is king side of ranking, that's where the opportunity is. So yeah, look for people that don't have that, because maybe that could be a sneaky way to get into the niche. And I think that's something we're going to have to look at a lot more. So maybe we should talk about it less. But yeah, I think that's a good summary on that.
Yeah, it's nice when those little brainwaves happen live.
I think if you watch the replay, you can see the moment my head exploded.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is really, this is the coming of the age, right? So Facebook went mobile first a long time ago, a couple of years ago, and then now Google is saying that, I mean, they've mentioned they were going to go mobile first. I think a couple of years ago as well, but it's starting to roll over. So this really is an exciting time for SEO affiliates, especially what the way that the Dom had phrased that. So let's. I got a question. I think this question is probably it's directed to all of us, but I think Alex might have a clear answer on this one. So if you could choose, what would you prefer? Lower competition keywords or higher volume keywords? So would you prefer lower competition keywords or higher volume keywords if you had to choose?
Right, so that's the answer. I take more money. And then the real answer is I really take more money. So I did write a post about it last year. Higher search volume not necessarily will mean more money in your pocket. Talking about exclusively affiliate keywords, of course, if you're looking at the informational queries or stuff like that, that's a bit different. Obviously, if you're doing display ads, more traffic, more money, end of the story, give or take. But if I'm looking at a product that costs $1,000 and gets like 100 searches a month, and I'm looking at a product that costs $20 and it gets 10,000 searches a month, and I make a guesstimate of how much money I'm gonna make for the commission category of both products and the whole stuff. And you need to do the math, but typically it works out more expensive product, better commissions. Also tends to work out because it's a lower search volume keyword, it'll probably be lower competition. So that is how you can win many times. You just like focusing a bit more on more expensive products and not as competitive, but because the commissions you're gonna make are better, in the end you do a lot better as in getting 2,000 visits to a product you're gonna make $20 commission for on Amazon. But when you completely exclude those factors, I would go for lower competition, just because SEO is expensive and links are expensive. Whether you build them yourself with an assistant or you're doing all the work, it just costs you time, and time is expensive, or you buy and renting or etc. PBN links, guest posts. So yeah, I would go for lower competition if you point at me with a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole concept of low-hanging fruit within the SEO space is you want to get a lot of those low volume keywords are all going to add up anyway. And as we've already talked about, if you rank for one keyword, you rank for a ton anyway. So when it comes to long tail keywords, they're not called long tail because they have 5 or 6 words in them. That's often the correlation, but long tail just is about search demand and number of keywords that have that search demand. So obviously the keywords that have the most search demand, there's only a few of them, and then as the kind of tail goes down on the chart, you get to these keywords where they only have 20 searches or 30 searches or 50 searches, but the tail's infinitely long, so you're going to rank for loads of them. And in fact, usually they make up about 80% of the search volume anyway. So it's a lot easier with a chart. So I don't know if I can kind of describe it, but if you rank for, I think one of our sites ranked for a keyword that got 20 searches, but it ranked for about 2,000 of those keywords, and it ranked number 1 for pretty much all of them. So it probably got more traffic than the people that ranked for one keyword that got 2,000 searches, and this is not an anomalous result. It happens all the time. So in many cases, if you go for the lower competition one, you are actually going to have higher search volume anyway. But also, what's the point in being on page 3 of a 10,000 search volume keyword when you could be page 1 of a 100 search volume keyword. Who's going to get more traffic? It's that whole, I think Tim Ferriss coined it, or at least he first introduced me to the topic. It's like, it's better to be a big fish in a small pond than the other way around. So the whole reason we build niche affiliate sites is because we want to actually get traffic. So it makes sense to go for the opportunity rather than the volume. Is there anyone else?
All right, so I think we've got 2 more questions here. So if you guys have got it in you, then let's go into this. Okay, let's go with this one. So Carl, C-A-R-L, asked how best to track your keyword research and target keywords in your articles. So I think what he's asking is, it kind of sounds like it's a project management question. How do you guys organize your keywords and turn that into a content plan? It might be harder to describe this, of course, rather than visually. It would, of course, be better. But if anyone has any, so Kevin's going to take over.
All right. So a lot of this is, I guess, the summation of all of the things we've been talking about throughout this Facebook Live, where one of the most important things you need to consider is, if you've got this huge raw set of data that you've then gone through and actually done your manual keyword research on and worked out which one of these keywords are ones you can rank for, and then you've done that latent semantic indexing, or in other words, in the DOM or human proof way of describing it, just bucketing them into groups of related keywords, you should then start to come up with these pretty clear topic pages of, okay, this topic page will just be these 10 different keywords all roll up into this one topic page. This second topic page, again, we've got another 20 keywords here that all roll up into that. And depending on the site that I'm building, generally, like each one of those pages or buckets, I like to try and put somewhere around 10,000 worth of search volume. So whether that's a couple of 4,000, 5,000 per month terms, or whether that's we're way down in the keyword golden ratio space and you're picking up all these little hundreds here and there, and you roll 20 of those hundreds or 50 of those hundreds up to have 5,000 searches, you can start to go, okay, this is what my site will start to look like. Group them together thematically and as relevant as you can make them all together, and then that's pretty much the end of the keyword research and content planning side that we do with our affiliate sites, before it then goes to our writers to then, that look at and understand our content plans and can write out all the stuff. I guess it's kind of pretty similar to the way that the keyword packs are delivered when you guys do keyword packs, where they're sort of grouped into, here's this group, here's that group, and you can use that to work out how your site structure basically can come together. And then I guess later, when you're doing your, once you've built this site, you can then go back and look at your rank tracker to see how those different groups and pages of keywords are going. So it's something that in a way sort of goes throughout the entire process, from the initial keyword research and conceptual phase through to after the website has been built and you're tracking your rankings. Like it flows through all of that, and having like a spreadsheet, or really a spreadsheet's the easiest way to put it, with first column will be page 1, you can give it your title, you can have your next column across that has all the 20 keywords and your volumes there, add it all up, and it's, if you organize your stuff right, then it's pretty easy to track and manage that.
Yeah, I think your last sentence there summarized what I was going to say. The stuff before was great as well. I mean, I was just going to add that we've spent a lot of time playing with different toys like Asana, Basecamp, Trello, and for the majority of what we do, we use Google Sheets and Trello. And at the end of the day, what tool you use doesn't really matter. I think Kelvin did a podcast with Duke about a week ago, and he says he just writes everything out on a piece of paper, and it makes sense for him. So there isn't a right or wrong way to kind of physically store or to physically organize it, as long as you have a method for organizing it. And what Kevin just said is a great way of doing it. But at the end of the day, if you just want to use Google Sheets, that's fine. Yeah.
The right way, and you can summarize. I was about to say you could summarize it back into the mic for me, but that's all right. The right way is whichever way makes the most logical sense for you. If you're a sort of person who's a very physical type of person, then maybe writing each keyword onto like a slip of paper and physically grouping them on your table is the right way for you. If you like data, then maybe there's some tool that like your Trellos or whatever that you can use to group them together that way and drag them around with like project management tools on your screen. Whatever works for you, for your like organizational style, is the right tool. Don't overthink like finding the right tool. Yeah,
exactly. And then to kind of move on to the second part of the question, or what I think the second part of the question might be, is how to kind of track all of that, like once it's actually up there. I think it's important to use two types of rank tracker. The first is kind of your traditional, you tell the tool what keyword you want to track, and it tracks it. And sometimes you tell it the URL as well, sometimes you don't. I prefer it when you don't, and you let the tool, you say, track this website for this keyword, and it figures out which inner post is ranking for it. Because then sometimes you can find keyword cannibalization issues. And then the other type of tool is more like your SEMrush or your Ahrefs, where it just tells you everything you rank for, because that's where you notice opportunities. It's where you see, oh, look, I'm ranking for this keyword. I didn't even know that keyword existed. I haven't optimized my site at all. I'm just going to enter that keyword into my post. And oh, look, now I'm ranking even better. And you can also spot your cannibalization. So we do it both ways. It's like if I say to our content writers, hey, write these 20 articles, and then they write them, we upload them to the website. If I'm just checking Ahrefs every now and then to see what I rank for, I might forget to track those posts specifically, and then I might forget to build links to them specifically, or to do any of the other stuff. So in those cases, we might use something like SERP or SERP to track specific posts. And then we kind of use something like Ahrefs to track the holistic, like tell me everything I'm ranking for way. I think you need to do both, really.
Sure. So I think maybe to cap it on there with how you can organize your keywords better. At least visually for me, I think of it at least the essentials. If you were to open up a Google spreadsheet and then just have 3 columns. One is the keyword that you're going to target. So keywords is the headers. So I'll go through the 3 headers. So keywords, due date, status. And the status can just be, where you are at. So are you researching it? Are you, is it in the hands of a writer? Are you optimizing it? What's the status of that? So it's very, very simple. That's, that it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be that complex. And I think that's a good way to put it with that question. So let's move on to the final question. This is the final question, at least in this part of the series of keyword research. We actually have another piece of content that we're going to be putting together for you guys in the Human Proof Method private Facebook group. So if you guys bought the course, then basically we're going to go over, we're going to do something more visual for you guys, just because talking about keyword research sometimes isn't as beneficial as actually showing you through the video form. So that's part 2 of this conversation basically. And so for the final question, what should you do if your site is losing keywords? So if you're looking at a rank tracker and all of a sudden those keywords just disappear, what can you do to problem solve that issue? Or what might it come down to?
I talked about this in a blog post recently. there's lots of stuff you can do, but I think the first thing you need to do is figure out, are you actually losing keywords, or like what specifically are the keywords that you're losing? We've just got some garbage truck outside, so apologies if there's any background noise. I think they heard that we were on our last question and they came. So yeah, a lot of the time people, they might put their site in, say, SEMrush or Ahrefs, and it says you rank for 1,000 keywords, and then they put their site in Ahrefs or SEMrush a week later, and it says you rank for 980 keywords. And that's worrying, because you think, whoa, I lost 20 keywords. But you need to put it into context, because those tools usually only track keywords up until around position 80 or page 80. Anyway, somewhere arbitrary in the Google ether. And so what might happen is, of those 1,000 keywords that you rank for, maybe 100 of them you rank like position 79 or position 80 or position 78. And around there, they're going to fluctuate all day long. So one day, some of your keywords may bounce to, position 82, so they won't show up in SEMrush. And as Kelvin mentioned before, keyword tools are snapshots. So when you looked and it had 1,000, that may have been during just a fluctuation in the higher range. And then, maybe your average is 980, and sometimes you got 1,000, sometimes you got 900. So if this is the case, it's not a problem at all. It's going to go away in fact, it's never going to go away completely, because you're always going to have keywords that are kind of on the cusp of the rank trackers. Now, a more serious issue would be if you're losing your existing good keywords, or if you're not losing keywords, but your rankings are going down. So you were on like page 1 for everything, now you're on page 2. That's a lot more problematic. And I think I'll let someone else answer it, since it's the last question. Everyone should get a go.
There's a bunch of things that I look at when a site looks like it's declining. First thing to do is you cross-reference. Okay, I'm losing keywords according to Ahrefs. Am I losing traffic? Right? And then if you're losing traffic as well, then yeah, the tracker ain't lying, or you might be losing keywords that were ranking a good spot. Because if you're losing keywords that were on page 10, doesn't matter, right? But if you're losing keywords on page 1, like he said, it does matter. Something that I try my very best to do on every site that I run or manage is, from the day I start working on that site, I create a change log, and it just says the date, action, and where I've done it. So if I change the theme, or I change the font, or from that sort of simple stuff to adding a plugin, to adding a new table, to changing the product I'm recommending, all this sort of stuff, I take like a quick jot down. And if a page tanks, I go to my change log and say, what did I do to that page? Right? What's happened? Oh, I added a new table. Oh, okay. Right? Oh, I just changed the font. I changed the color of the hyperlinks. Then I go and troubleshoot. Oh, my pages per session are dropping. Hence, user signals are going to the nasty lands, and then the page is tanking. Look at referring domains. If you're losing referring domains faster than you're acquiring them, obviously you're going to lose link juice. So that's why you're losing keywords. What else? Any inputs when I think about more stuff?
And then finally, again, we come back around to everyone's favorite topic of this month, which is keyword cannibalization. Like, that could be another reason that you're starting to see traffic and rankings decline. Yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at that headline number of you're ranking for 1,000 keywords or 980 or 1020, like, yeah, ignore that. Look at your traffic graph, and even for the most part, ignore the traffic graph that will show up in like Ahrefs or SEMrush, and use your actual traffic data out of Clicky or Google Analytics or whichever analytics platform you're running on your site, because your site is obviously the most trusted authority for that ranking and for that traffic data, compared to the third-party ones, which are just estimating that on the data they have available to them. So look at your own stuff. If your own stuff is staying steady, who cares? If you're seeing that, all of a sudden a keyword that you had in the top 10 that was one of your main target keywords is now down on page 5 or page 6, it's a highly likely candidate there for cannibalization, and go through and review it. And the change log's a really good idea, which is something that I haven't done, but I'm probably going to start doing now. Yeah, you can go back and review that and see what's happening. Yeah.
One more thing that I remembered. I got my assistants to create spreadsheets on the same sheet. I have my KPI tracking. So every month I look at traffic, earnings, yada, yada, yada. And then I have the change log in another tab. And then I have the keyword tracking, because Ahrefs will tell you where you are, but I don't think you can look at historic. So how many keywords did I have in July 2016? I don't think you can look at that. So at the beginning of every month, I have my assistants to fill how many keywords are for that particular website on positions 1 to 3, bottom of page 1, page 2, etc. Because I've seen consistently on the last 8 months from the, let's say, what was it, October, November last year, and then in December there was the whole round of minor penalties, and there's been a few algo updates, especially on the May one. Things we weren't necessarily specifically topically relevant for, that was a mouthful, we lost a lot of rankings across a lot of websites. However, for the things that we were stronger for, we increased the rankings. So a site in particular lost 3,000-4,000 keywords, and they were all stuff that we had an article about, 2 articles about. So we weren't particularly relevant for. But then all the other section that we had 90% of the website on a website with 500 pages, it went all right. So when you look at the positions, the distribution of the keywords is a lot better, but we lost a lot of keywords that we weren't relevant for. So we like stuck in page 3, page 4. We were casually ranking for them. So you need to keep an eye on that. So okay, I'm losing keywords, but I'm losing keywords that are where, and the trend is going in which direction? Am I going up on the pages, or am I going down? Because if you're losing keywords but you're going up on the pages, who cares, right? Same thing he said.
And finally, if you're still making money or making more money, who cares? Like that's the end goal of all of this, is to try and make some money off of the affiliate commissions. And whether I'm ranking for 3 keywords in total, so long as my income's staying steady, like I'm happy.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the people that ask us this question are generally people who their sites aren't yet ranking. So when you're not, when it's your first or your second website, and you're not you haven't seen this happen a lot before, then it's all too easy to sit there looking at SEMrush and saying, oh no, my traffic's going down or my keywords are going down. And like Kevin said, make sure you're tracking actually your own data, which is Google Analytics or Clicky. Don't even use Google Search Console for your ranking or traffic data, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the least accurate of them all. So yeah, put it in context and check that, is this affecting anything at the front end? Like, is it affecting my page 1 rankings, or is it just part of the my site's not ranking yet, so it's naturally going to fluctuate? And then you made a good point about keyword cannibalization. When we were talking about it earlier, we were talking mostly about how, let's say you launch 2 posts at the same time, and because they cannibalize each other, neither one ever gets to page 1. But you can actually cannibalize a post that's already ranking well. So maybe your page 1, position 1 for a keyword, if you then accidentally cannibalize that keyword, you can pull it down as well. So that could be a symptom of losing rankings, and you could go back and say, you know what, I'm already page 1, position 1 for this. I'm not going to talk about that anymore, or I'll talk about something similar and not use a keyword, and I'll send an internal link or something. Yeah, that was, I think I was just kind of summarizing that. Are we done on that topic? Yeah. So. Okay. So I guess we can pass it back to Kelvin for the closing notes. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. So that was a great. I thought that was an awesome deep dive into keyword research to round out this entire month basically on the theme of keyword research that we've got going on. I want to say thanks to Dom, Alex, and our special guest Kevin Graham from Bulk Buy Hosting. It's bulkbuyhosting.com, right? Correct. Okay, bulkbuyhosting.com. And if you want, we've gone through a whole bunch of different resources and tools and stuff like that to point you guys to. So head over to humanproofdesigns.com/podcast 37, because we're on the 37th episode. And then if you want to check out Kevin's episode, then that's humanproofdesigns.com/podcast 16. That's 16. And yeah, I think we're going to end it here. So thanks a lot, guys.